Welcome back to livecoding.ca. Today we are back on learning some Rust. So let's get right to it. So what we've been working on is through this course from Microsoft called Take Your First Steps with Rust. I've really been enjoying it. We've gone through a bunch of stuff, and at this point we are at the part where we're going to be working on testing. I'm just seeing, we've gone over a bunch of things. So we've learned a bit about cargo, packages, the crates. We've gone over move semantics. We've gone over a bunch of stuff. So like I said, we're going to work on testing today. So let's get back to that. Okay, so like all the other streams I do for Rust, we're going through this course. So what I'd like to do is just go through, I read through things and then we do the examples. It's nothing super complicated. And if you're in the chat, feel free to let me know. And, we can talk things through because I'll probably get stuck on something at some point. Anyways, all right, so we're going to do testing in Rust. So we're going to learn how to write some unit tests, how to write some integration tests, and we're also going to learn how to write documentation tests. All right, so Rust comes with a simple yet powerful test suite built into the language. We're going to explore the different test strategies to ensure our program's correctness all right, it's, as always, I do this every stream. I repeat exactly the same thing twice because it has the same thing on 2 pages. Anyways, all right, so we're going to learn about writing some unit tests here. So unit tests in Rust are simple functions marked with the test attribute. Think of these attributes here like, if you're coming from JavaScript land, think of it like a decorator. So like you'll see like the at and then something above like a function. These attributes also, this is something similar in when I was working in C#. They have attributes as well where you can add some metadata to the function or a method of something. In this case, it's just indicating that it's a test, I guess. And so let's see here. It says test functions run the code that you want to test. Then they check the results, often by using assert or assert equals macros. All right, so if we look here, we're adding 2 numbers and we're going to assert that it's equal. So adding 1 plus 2 is 3. These are trivial examples they're showing here, but it's more to get the point across. 10 plus 12 is 22, so we're asserting that's equal. 5 plus minus 2. So, and then you can run, so cargo is what we've been using to create our packages, and we've been able to do other stuff like cargo run, which runs the code. But here there's this new command as well. We can do cargo test to run the tests. So let's do this for fun. So let's go to VS Code. I'm in the Rust application, and let's say I'll just call it first. Actually, wait, I'll do cargo, not Crago, cargo new, and we'll call it first unit test. All right, and then we're going to cd to source, I guess. Oh, got us to cd to first unit test, and then source, I guess. Or no, we'll leave it there. And if we do code source main, which should exist, this is the entry point for the package here. So I'm going to also come down here in the command line. I'm not going to run it yet, but I'm going to run cargo test. We'll do that in a second. And I'm going to go back to the code here. I'm just going to copy this. Now, I'm actually not sure what's going to happen here, because normally when we run the main file, it complains about not having a main function. So maybe it's not in there when we do it. So let's try this maybe. I'll leave the main there. But let's open up another one. We'll say code source tests.rs. Not the best name, I know. Not TS, TypeScript, that's a whole other thing. And let's put this in here. And then we'll do cargo test and see what happens. So it should find the unit test because of the, okay, running 0 tests. Okay, so maybe it has to go in the main. So let's see that first here. This all looks good. Okay, and this is just showing failing test, that's fine, because 2 plus 2 is not 7 clearly, and then it'll tell you it's a failure, and that's good. I just want to see what the file name is supposed to be, because it's not main.rs, but I'm just wondering how it gets picked up. We can ignore tests. That's like a skip if you're coming from like Jasmine or Jest in JavaScript land. Okay, this is what I wanted to look for. So most unit tests go into a submodule with the CFG test attribute. Okay, so this is what I was curious about. Okay, so for the purpose of this test, the function that's being tested is in the actual test file, but I imagine normally you would just be importing that because that function add is used elsewhere. So let's take a peek here. So if we come back to my test file, I'm gonna paste it in. And so the config test attribute here should pick that up then. Let's read through a bit of the rest here. Okay, I'm curious what the use super is here. This part I get, it's saying this is a module of tests. And as they mentioned, for example, the test attribute indicates it's a unit test or a test. This one here, I'm not sure. This is saying it should panic. I'm not sure why you need to explicitly do that yet. We'll find out, I guess, because just doing an assert will cause this to fail, but I'm not sure why the panic is there. Ignore, we'll just ignore that test. Okay. So the CFG attribute controls conditional compilation and will only compile the thing it's attached to if the predicate is true. The test compilation flag is issued automatically by Cargo whenever we execute the command cargo test. Okay, that makes sense. So this is saying only run it when in the test environment, I guess. This is what I was curious about. So the use super : star declaration is necessary for the code inside the add functions test module to access the add in the outer module. Okay, that's interesting. All right, so let's come back here and let's just run this. So I'm in my terminal. Let's just make this a bit bigger. I'll bump it up one more. Let's clear here. And let's do cargo test again. Still not picking it up. Maybe I need to do something different. These are like the silly things at the beginning where you're like, why is this not running? Okay. Going through this. Oh, thank you for the follow. Hey, Becca. Yeah, so what's going on here? The test is, I copy pasted it. So let's go check out the Rust Playground link just to see how they have it going. So they have the config test here. That all looks good if we run the test. Okay, that's fine. That's just a warning. But if we look at the test that ran, all right, so 2 passed and 1 was ignored. Okay, that looks good. Hey, Becca. Hey, Kirk. Thanks for popping by. So if you just popped in, I'm on one of the last modules of the Microsoft course on Rust. So we're learning about testing in Rust right now. So Kirk, I know you've done some C#, so they're using attributes to tell you what is a test and what isn't. So for example, if you see here, the AddWorks function, it's a test because it's got the test attribute. These are all running in the playground, and they're running correctly. I'm just trying to figure out locally. Yeah, maybe I will screen share, Kirk, if I happen to be pressing the correct button. I've been talking to myself with no screen. Great. Okay, cool. Yeah, so if we, oh, that's, I've been talking for a few minutes like that. The beauty of live streaming. It's all good. Okay. Yeah, no, I just need you to imagine it, Becca. Okay, so I think this is the first time you've popped on the stream, Becca. So with Rust through the learning course, there's this playground, like the TypeScript playground or other similar REPLs for other languages and stuff. So you're able to take code examples that they have a lot. You can copy here, and then you can run them directly in the playground. So these tests are running fine, which is all good. I'm just trying to figure out why they're not running when I run them locally now. So I have a feeling maybe I have to put it in the main file. Go back to the main RS file here, and I'm gonna try it from there and see if it does it. Main.rs is typically the entry point. Okay, that's what, okay. Yeah, So yeah, I started off working in the playground, but then sometimes it would fail. I guess maybe too many people using it, or just it got slow sometimes. So I've just been doing it directly I've got a project called Rust is a Must. It's a repository up on my GitHub, but I've forgotten to push so many things there. So I have like 34 files here. But all it says, I'm gonna close a few things here. No, I don't want to save that. So we've got the unit tests running. So let's open it now that I have it working locally again. And if we look at this, since I was talking to my screen and people weren't seeing it, so I'll just go over this again. So we have this function that we want to test. It happens to be in the same file where the tests are. I think normally you would probably just import this, but they're keeping it simple for now just so we can learn about unit testing. There's this attribute here. It's called CFG for config. And test is here because if it's the test environment, this module should run. In here as well, there's this use super : star. This looks a little weird. For the integer type, where are you talking about exactly, Kirk? It's asking for a 32-bit integer here. I'm not sure where you're talking about, but I'll check the chat in a sec. And then, yeah, so the use super : star, it's a syntax to allow you to have access to everything that's in the outer module, which is the rest of the stuff outside of this mod add. And then, like I said, there's the configuration attribute, there's the test attribute to indicate it's a test. The should panic, I'm still not sure because we're just saying, oh, okay, I see what they're doing. It's saying should panic because this test is going to fail. 2 + 2 is clearly not equal to 7. And I guess they're using this to fail. We're just saying it should panic because I would have thought maybe they would do like a not assertion, but I guess that's one way to do it. And maybe that's the standard way of doing it in Rust for the tests. The other thing is, like I mentioned, you can ignore a test. So for example, this is like skip in Jest or Jasmine. Like I'm going to cut out that whole part of my stream where I was talking to myself only and not showing the screen. Okay, so Kirk's saying about the add func, wondering if there's a generic int or if there's only like i32, i64, etc. There's a U8 as well, I believe. We can go check that. Integer, not integer, integer types Rust. There's unsigned, yeah. So there's, yeah, i8, i16, i30, U8, U16, U32, and U64. And it looks like there's 2 more. Okay. There's an arch type. I can't remember what that is, and there's 128-bit. I think most of the time folks are using E2, but there's obviously reasons to use the other ones. So let's go back here. So that was the test. We saw those all run. So now we're going to continue, and we're going to write some unit tests ourselves now. So in this one, we're going to write 2 unit tests functions for the isEven function. You'll know the exercise is complete after the code compiles and both tests pass. You should edit only the body of the 2 test functions. Sounds good. All right, so I'm going to copy this. And let's come back here. The way I've just been doing these exercises is I just keep making new folders for the different tests and stuff. So I'm in the right one. So I'm going to say cargo new. So we'll call it isEven tests. And then I'm going to cd to source main. Not going to do code source main.rs. And let's just close this. And I'm going to paste in the code. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run this code. It's going to fail because there's stuff that's missing that we need to do. Oh, interesting. Cargo. Oh, yeah, I didn't cd to the folder. Sorry. cd isEven tests. Then code source main.rs. I put it in the wrong place. So let's do that. Okay, so if I show this now, so we're going to see here, this is the function that we want to run a test. We're using, like they mentioned, use super : star so we can have access to this here. For folks that might not have been on the other streams, pub here means public. And so now we have 2 tests here. We have is true when even, is false when odd. So that's what we're going to do now. So we just need to fill these in, because if I come and run this, let's do cargo test, it's going to fail. Yeah, warning. Sure. The warning is, okay, so there's giving us errors here because we haven't filled out the assert or anything. So let's get to that. So is true when even. So we're gonna pass in a number and we're gonna say like 4, for example. And then when it's odd, we're gonna get it to fail. Now this should still give an error because the second test that checks if it's odd should panic. Expected bool found. That's interesting. Assert. Oh yeah, I am so silly. Would help if I actually called the function. So we're gonna say is even here, and then we'll run here. Always helps to actually test the thing you want to test. Now if I come back down here and run it, the first test is gonna pass, but the second one should panic, I believe. So first test passed, the second one failed, it panicked. So what we need to do is we have to add that other attribute, which I believe is just should panic. And that's because is even for 3 is clearly not going to be even, so that's going to fail. And the way Rust works is like when the assertion fails, it panics by default. So the test framework, I guess, is set up to say like I'm expecting it to panic, so that's when we know the test will pass. So let's come back here again, and there we go, both tests pass. That's awesome. Now let's come back to here. All right, so now we're gonna write documentation for tests. So with Rust, you can execute documentation examples as tests. Primary way to document a Rust library is through annotating the source code with triple slashes, known as documentation comments. And to try it out, we're gonna create a new library project first, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so let's do that. So let's follow the rules here. Let's open this. Let's go down a level, and we should be, yeah, we're right. Okay, so this is not gonna create an executable. It's gonna create a library. Think of this like importing a package in JavaScript, for example. All right, so it's gonna create that. We're gonna cd to basic math. And now there's a lib.rs file, so we're going to say code. I have VS Code in the command line running, so that's how I'm able to do that. And this is going to open up the lib.rs file. All right, so we've got that. Now let's go see what they're saying over here. And replace the existing contents with the following code. Sure, sounds good. All right, so generally the first line is a brief summary describing the function. This is not really Rust specific. This is like you can do this JS doc, or most languages you're able to document things. And I'm not sure why it's complaining about the triple equals. Replace line comments with a single block comment. Sure. Yeah. Comments on how to write comments. Boom. Okay. So it's the same code. We just have this add function. There gives us the details of what's going on here. And there's this snippet of code to show how it works. So that's cool. Now, like unit tests, document tests will pass if they run without panicking. To verify certain results, use an assert macro. Okay, so let's go run cargo test. See what happens here. What did it say? Okay, it's saying 0 passed, 0 failed. Okay, oh no, wait. Okay, yeah, there was no test found there, but in the documentation, it actually did run the one test. Oh, okay, cool. This is, I guess, I don't know if this is something standard. I've never actually written unit tests in comments, but I guess it's a way to validate. I guess this could be interesting because say this is your documentation for your code, and if you change something in the code and you forget to update the documentation, in theory, or not in theory, most likely the example snippet you have in the code will fail. So I could see how this could be valuable potentially. Yeah, so when I looked at that there, yeah. So there's 0 unit tests, but 1 documentation test. All right. So let's move on here. So we're gonna create document tests in the following code snippet for the functions div and sub, so divide and subtract. Is it subtract or subtract? It's subtract, right? Yeah, I don't know why I always say subtract. Maybe it's just me. I'm also the person that used to say windshield factor instead of wind chill, so I guess I just need to know my words. All right. Okay, so we've got this here and this here. Okay, So we're going to copy this whole chunk here. Let's bring this in, and what was that again? Div and sub. Okay, so let's create another one, I guess. I guess it's in basic math. Did we put it in the same file, or I think we could. Yeah, I think we can just put it in here. Okay, so let's paste those in. So here we go. Example 1 to 10 to do. Finish this test. Yes, I will. Okay, so let's do, I don't know, for example, like they have 10 divided by 2. And let's see what happens when we run this now. Okay, clear that again. And okay, so what do we got here going on? 10 divided by 2. Okay, let's go up to the top here, see where it started to fail. Okay, fail, 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 fail. Sure. Expected 1. Okay, so I have to do all the, I think I have to just write them all first, which is fine. So example, and did I do assert up top here? Let's go result 2. That looks good. So let's copy this. Let's come down here. Then we'll say 6 divided by 2. That should equal 3. All right, panics. If the second argument is 0, that makes sense. So let's do, we can even just go even more extreme, 0 divided by 0. Actually, for here, I guess it's okay like that. I mean, because this is just going to explode regardless when it does 0, 0. I think maybe even just this should be good. And then let's check out here. So this is subtract. So this one is sub. Cool. And then we're going to do 9 minus 2. And then we're expecting the result to be 7. And then let's come down here and we'll do one more. Should be the last one, I think. So it's 6 minus 9. That should give us minus 3. I think we're in good shape. Let's see what we got here now. And let's just do this. And let's pop up. We're doing Rust today, so let's get a crab up there. Okay, let's clear this. All right, so that's looking good. Okay, all right. Let's go back to VS Code here. Let's run cargo test. All right, so we got some errors here, but that's okay. So doc tests failed to resolve. Doc test exercise. Okay. So this, I think we need to make a module, or we can just remove it. Here, let's go up to the top. Basic math. Oh yeah, sorry, it's called basic math because we're in that. So that's what the actual module is. So I'm just going to find all these. So in VS Code, if you're using a Mac, you can do Command-Shift-L, and you can replace all of them. So if I scroll down, you should see they all got replaced. It gives you multiple cursors. If you're using Windows machine, Control-Shift-L should do it. So let's run this now, and I believe it should pass. Okay, we still got some failures. That's okay. It's looking better though. So we've got 0 unit tests running, and then we've got this one test, line 19. I'm guessing that's the one where it's panicking. Main panicked at assertion, failed left, right. Okay, so let's go check that out. That's line 19. 10 divided by 2. Oh, that's silly me. 10 divided by 2 is not 2, it's actually 5. Who would have known? All right, so let's clear this and let's try that again. All right, awesome. So everything passes. That's great. Okay, so let's come back here. Okay, so they were saying create a new lib called doc test exercise. I just added it to the basic math one. That's why I did the search replace of doc test underscore exercise, and I opted for going with the basic math module that we were in. All right, that's good. Okay, integration tests. So I gotta turn a fan on here for a sec. I'm melting. East Coast, I saw somebody tweet it today. East Coast, I think it was Ken Wheeler tweeted it. East Coast is very hot in the summer, and then it gets cold in the winter, but you know, not complaining, just hot, that's all. All right, so here Unit and documentation tests provide concise and specific tests, but it's also a good idea to test our crate as a whole. That is true. Then we can confirm that our crate's various code parts function together as expected. Correct. And let's add a donut in there. Okay. So let's write some integration tests by creating a new small project. So we're going to create another library, a rusty pizza. That does not sound appetizing, but if we do go there, just ensure that you've had your tetanus shot. I'm not a doctor, but that's probably what you would need. Let's check current directory. So we need to go down a level, and we're going to create this new library called rusty_pizza. We're going to switch to rusty pizza. Let's clear that and let's see what it's saying. All right. So in this example, we'll use a simple pizza struct with private and public methods. So this public struct called pizza has two properties. It's got topping and inches. Topping is a string, inches is a U8 integer. I could see myself writing this regularly, Kirk. It's just a question of becoming more familiar with it. It's definitely, I know it's a popular language right now. I mean, I say popular, but like, you know, we're always in a Twitter bubble, I guess. But I see there's a lot of people excited about it. The reason why I got interested in it, I mentioned it on a couple other streams, is for WebAssembly. That's where this came about initially. But you know, people are actually even using it to rewrite parts of the Linux kernel right now. I'm sure there's others. Yeah, I do appreciate the functional style of programming. It's the first, I don't know if it's actually completely a functional language, but programming language, but I've typically used functional programming patterns, mainly in JavaScript, you know, composing functions, trying to keep things immutable. But I do like these defaults that come out of the box with Rust. So you have immutability by default. There's we touched on it in one of the other modules, the move semantic. I find that really cool. It's like you set something in a variable and then you move on to a next step. So maybe you set that variable to something else, or it gets passed into a function. At that point, it's like the ownership is taken over by the other thing and you can no longer do anything with that previous variable. From what I understand, that's to avoid, that gives you those guarantees about not having any race conditions. So there's a lot of stuff I do find interesting about it. It's funny too, because I didn't really do a lot of C++. I did C++ like my first year at university, like I mentioned in other streams. And then we moved on to Java with managed memory, so garbage collection and all that. But structs, I remember that from C++. This also looks very TypeScript-like. A struct is really, it's really like an object, it's not an interface, but these impls are interfaces to some degree. You're saying like, I want to implement the pizza interface and it has two functions, pepperoni, mozzarella, or three functions, and a bake. And so those get bolted on to the pizza struct here, which is, but yeah, it's still early days for me with the language, but I am finding it interesting. It's a thing where I think if you get completely immersed in it, like either through a job or some project you jump on, that's the best way to keep ramping up. But yeah, it's meant for low-level code too, and yeah, high performant. I'm still curious about, I was talking to Cassidy Williams on the dev stream last week briefly about this, because we were just talking about all kinds of stuff. But yeah, the way memory management works, so like in C++ you would have to do like explicit memory allocation, like using malloc. You don't have to do that in Rust from what I've seen so far. So it's like if I define a variable, that memory gets allocated, and with these move semantics, like the lifetime of like that previous variable, because the variable value or reference gets passed on to the next thing, it's like the other one's just cleaned up automatically. It's not even necessarily garbage collection. I don't know what you would call it. It seems like automatic memory management that isn't garbage collection, but I don't know if that's the best way to explain it. Again, still early days for me in the language. Okay, so let's copy this and let's come over to, yeah, I have a feeling it does scale well. So we're in Rusty Pizzas. We're going to open code source librs, and let's just paste in this, I guess, or there's those tests there. I guess maybe leave that there for now. I'll put these down below. Yeah, exactly, Kirk. That's what I've understood. And it's not even if it's no longer in scope. It's really like, for example, if I say like set a int variable, you know, to like, or actually I might as well just write something out. So if I did something like what is it, u8, if I did like let count I32 equal, I don't know, 52, and then I said over here let other count equal count, and then if I did not uther, and then if I did, for example, we call the function, so I don't know, I did something like handle count. What'll happen is, so I32 here, sorry, count here is 52. As soon as I assign count to other count, I can no longer do anything with the count variable, even though it's it appears to be in scope still. It no longer can be used at this point. Like if I went here at this point and I said, you know, count, I don't know, if I did something else, handle other, and I did count, this would complain because count is no longer allowed to be used. This is what the move semantics are, and again, early days for me in the language. So the move semantics mean count was 52 here, but now I'm saying other count is equal to count. So like the ownership of 52 has moved to other count, and at that point I can't use count here because it's going to say no, you can't, you're no longer allowed because of the move semantics. So that's why I would have to use other count here, for example, and then that would work. And then I think after that, if I tried to use other count here, that should complain as well, because at this point it's gotten out of scope because it gets called in the handle other function, but it's like all of a sudden handle other is the owner of that value now, and so other count here wouldn't be able to be used anymore. So you'd probably have to do something like let another count equals, or if it does return something, for example, and then you could use here another count. This is like a terrible example, but that's what I've understood about it. And it seems weird at first, but if you think about like race conditions and stuff, race conditions happen because like maybe something else is modifying that thing that was passed in, you know? So by moving who has ownership of it, it's only the owner of that can actually do something with it. That's my understanding so far, and I still got to reread through some of these things, but that's what I've understood. I don't know if that's clear or not, Kirk, but I can't see your eyes, but blink twice if that's clear. Yeah, the interesting thing about it is I'm curious why it wasn't thought of before, but maybe it was more, could have been like, you know, C and C++ have been around forever, so that'd be like a huge breaking change. So you wouldn't, maybe it's because it just wouldn't be compatible, but because Rust is a newer language, they could take all the learnings from previous languages and kind of, you know, do what they think works better. So, but yeah, I'm curious to see and learn more about it. Okay, so let's get back here. If we come here, so we've copied that. So it's saying the snippet features a pizza struct with two public methods, pepperoni and mozzarella, and that rely on the private pizza bake. Yeah, so yeah, I forgot to mention that. So these are both public, but this one is a private. This is typical in other languages too, like Java, C++, I imagine others too, but I think in C# it's private by default. Maybe you can correct me on that, Kirk, but all right. And it makes sense that bake here is private because we never want someone who's consuming the pizza struct to actually call bake. They just want to say, I want a mozzarella or a pepperoni cheese, and a mozzarella or a pepperoni pizza, and those get cooked, i.e. baked, which is the private method here. Okay, so now we need to create a new test folder. Okay, whoops. Let's make sure that pwd, I came in the right one. So make their tests. And we're gonna copy this, and let's do code tests pizza.rs, I believe it was. Let's paste that in. Yeah, it does make sense. Make it less flexible so that there's less foot guns, I guess. That makes sense, you know, which always allows us to, I should probably have a Stream Deck button for that, you know, the Uncle Ben, Spider-Man's uncle, you know, with great power comes great responsibility, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, so, okay. So I pasted this in. So these are 2 tests. So now that our integration step test setup is done, we can execute cargo test. All right, sure, let's do that. Let me make sure I'm in, okay, I'm still in Rusty Pizza, cargo test. And let's open this up. Okay, so compiles it, tests, unit test. So running 1 test, it works, 1 pass. Okay, so the tests do pass. Yeah, exactly. I like the fact that it making mutability explicit as a choice too. We talked about it on another stream, but it makes you very aware that, hey, I'm about to do something potentially dangerous. Well, dangerous is relative, obviously, but yeah. And I think it's the thing, like, once you get used to it, your brain shifts, you know? Okay, so we got these 2 tests. So make a mozzarella pizza. So we create a new 16-inch mozzarella pizza. We want to check that its topping is mozzarella and that its pizza is 16 inches. Okay, yeah. I guess this is an integration test in the sense that it's just saying run all the tests. I mean, test all the methods. I'm not sure if that really is what that, because to me this just seems like, well, I guess it's not, well, it still feels like a unit test to me instead of an integration test, but let's keep reading on here. So that all passes. So it places the results of the tests in separate sections. Unit test results come first, then integration results, and finally documentation results. We can see our 2 tests side by side in the pizzas.rs, and then only library crates can be tested by integration tests because binary crates don't expose any functionality that other crates can use. Okay, cool. As a result, many Rust binary crates include a lib.rs, which is most of the code, which is right. And yeah, normally if it's an executable, it's just in main.rs. So integration tests can then test the binaries functionality by importing the crate as a library with use. Okay. Yeah, this is my first day looking at it, Kirk, so I don't think there's a formal definition here. Maybe if I go back to the top here. Okay, they're basically saying to test our crate as a whole, we can use integration tests. Maybe Google Rust integration tests. See what they give us. Okay, this might be for a second here. So unit tests are for testing one module in isolation at a time. They're small and can test private code. Integration tests are external to your crate and use only its public interface. Okay, I guess they're saying unit tests can test private stuff, which you typically don't do though. You don't usually test private stuff, so I don't know. That example, that definition doesn't seem super clear to me still. I get that unit tests are testing, like, they're small tests, but I think that seems to be the difference in Rust, Kirk, I think, is unit tests can test the private code, whereas integration tests can't. It's only whatever is accessible through the public API. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly what you said, Kirk. I just saw your comment after. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we tested that. That was all good. Okay. We ran all this. Okay, so let's continue. And we're pretty much near the end here. So the knowledge check is something I normally do at the end. I don't do it on the stream, not because I'm embarrassed to do it. It's just if folks happen to catch these streams on YouTube later, I'd like them to do it. So I think we're pretty much at the end for today. Just wanted to say thanks for everybody who popped by. Thanks popping in, Becca and TK, and I didn't see who else popped in there. not too many folks today, but that's all good. It's not the point of this. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's great having tons of people watching it, but oh, hey, Carmen. Yeah. No, the whole point of this is just to learn things, you know, and if tons of people happen to come along, great, but I'm just as happy if there's like one person, nobody, me just talking to me. So anyways, I will see you all next week, folks.